This is Cyphre. We got a special week for you here. We're not doing a specific gun review. This is the
Glock Roundup.
So
yeah!
We'll be going over as much information we have about Glocks as we can give to you. So Cyphre, why don't you start with your good old trusty sidekick there.
As a modern staple of all of KSC and KW's lineups, we have here. This is the, I believe it's KW or KSC, I'm not really sure at the time. This is my original gun. This is the first gun I ever bought. This is probably 12 years old, probably.
At least.
Really freaking old. And they didn't really do anything with design other than the fact that they started adding their trigger safety in there. KSC had trigger safeties, KW didn't originally. This is a 23F, which is didn't actually exist ever in the actual lineup, but it's a 19 with a selector and a hybrid slide. Had a nice ported hybrid slide there, which is a nice little feature it had on it.
That you did sandblast.
Yeah, I sandblasted this. Is really old. Yeah, I sandblasted the slide, added a clear coat, and it turned out pretty nice. And this gun pretty much still works to this day, other than the fact that some of the seals are a little old, which is a testament to the quality.
Yeah, we'll put some ammo down range so you can see how these guns function a little bit later. But I can tell you from experience in game that thing still has a kick to it.
Yeah, this is the newer. This is a newer production, but still the same because they didn't really change anything. They didn't do anything with NS2 or System 7 yet. Unfortunately, this is the KSC's. It still has a nice trades other than the somewhat slightly different trademarks they had to employ. KSC actually got everyone in trouble by using Glock's trades, and Glock had a big lawsuit probably quite a few years ago now. Actually,
I believe a lot of the U.S.-based retailers were even affected by it.
Yeah. And they caused a big problem. Among all the companies, Glock was a big bitch about everything because, oh my god, use my trades, me.
Or, in all honesty, yes, I see where they're coming from, but if they just license them out, they'd make a ton of residual.
Glock is the only company, I think, that does not have
licensing
because H&K goes through Umarax, and the other companies like Western Arms, they get their own trades from the companies themselves, like Wilson Combat and all that.
Palco Sports, they're a rebranding brand. They buy from other manufacturers, and they get the rights to SIG, they get the rights to Colt.
Right.
I mean, just so many different brands out there that you can actually get real trades on through that manufacturer.
Not Glock. No,
that's the only one.
For once, H&K is a step above. When H&K is usually a bitch about everything, about their parts, about everything. Glock, I mean, H&K is generally very bitchy about everything.
Yeah, even KWA was able to get the HK trademark.
Right, because they had the HK416, I believe.
Well, even
the only ones who didn't, I believe, was VFC.
And even their G36 has the HK markings directly on it.
Right, yeah.
So, we implore you, Glock, just let them have the rights.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. Not really big at all. This is my personal Glock. I actually modified the sights. This is a Ghost Ring Tritium sight, just because I can. It worked out somewhat well. It doesn't really take to real sights that well.
Yeah, it took a bit of modification, but
I had to add some spacers because the slot isn't the same. But at least you can do it on this. No, it's not that hard. Very nice trades overall, though.
The one thing about the KSC Glock 18 that we've noticed is, along with KWA KSC traditional selector switch issues, you do have to rack it back to select it. There's a little pin at the back of the slide, which hopefully we can get a better shot for you later, that if you're not cautious with and you don't tighten up on a regular basis, that pin will pop out the back of it, and they don't make replacement parts.
Tiny element screw on the top that holds that in, and there's a lot of problems. This is a very, very old design, so there's some things they didn't really improve upon. I think they did say they did improve something on here.
Yeah, they said something about the nozzle, if I remember correctly, but I don't know exactly what it was.
But yeah, the firing selector is something they changed, and it's not as loose as the originals, I don't think. And if you pop it in the middle like that, it's loose, and you can pop right out with ball bearing and all. It's kind of a pain in the ass. Overall, a really nice design. It's basically a staple of the lineup. They had this, they had the H&K USP Compacts, and that was most of their lineup. They had a couple of SIGs. They really concentrated on the polymer guns because at the time, Western Arms was pumping out 1911s, and Marui had a bunch of random guns, but they were still making new guns at the time.
Right.
So definitely a very popular gun, even in Airsoft.
Exactly. Now, with mine, this is my personal Wii G17. You've seen it on our show before. You can see I've whited out the trade so you can really make them pop. I've thrown on a tack light with laser. Really good addition. Didn't add too much weight. Has a really comfortable grip. I'm more than pleased with the performance out of this gun. It's put me through probably the last 6 months of games with no major issues.
Yeah.
The WeTech Glock is just, like I said, one of the best ways to go. Cyphre here, this is the WeTech, oh no, that's your KSC.
Yeah, this is the KSC, sorry.
This is the WeTech G18C. This is based off the Gen 4, which we stated in a previous video. Well worth it, another great Glock. One nice thing is it doesn't have that pin issue that your KSC does.
Right, it uses the more modern Marui system for the gas blowback system functionality and all that.
Right. It does have the trades as most of them do. Unfortunately, it doesn't actually say Glock Austria like the old KSC 17s used to.
It has your typical WE trades on it.
Exactly. But again, just another great Glock to pick from. Now, there are a few others on the market that we don't have here with us, such as the KGW 23.
No one cares about that. The only one, the other models would be the 26. Marui made a Glock 26, which is the even more compact version. It has basically one less finger groove and an even shorter barrel than the 9. This is based off the 19 frame. 23 is just the 19, essentially. It's slightly shorter, and the grip is this much shorter. This magazine fits the 17, so that's how much less grip there is on that one.
We also don't have the KSC 19 with us, which I know is available here in the States still.
Yeah, but it's the same as this, essentially.
Exactly.
Just no hybrid slide.
And no full auto.
Right.
There are a couple other manufacturers that are out there, such as AFC. Umarex has a Glock variant.
Umarex is by who, though?
It's Umarex's direct line. It's a CO2 powered Glock. They call it the Tactical Force. It just overall looks like a Glock. It's not actually a Glock. KWA did also make their ATP.
Yeah.
Which is their Glock-esque look.
They basically made mostly identical frame, just slightly different lengths, I believe, on the front and the back. And
they did some contouring, so it feels kind of like a mashup of 3 or 4 different guns. It feels like a 1911, feels like a USP, feels like a Glock.
Well, no, definitely 1911.
I said in contours. It feels. Yeah.
Basically, they took the lower frame off a Glock and stuck a different slide on it, but it is slightly different than a regular Glock.
Right.
So
it'll still accept the KSC 18 and 17 mag though.
Yeah,
as
same
well
magazines.
As mags.
Yeah.
The other one, they do have an ATP automatic coming out. That's yet another Glock-esque pistol. And then SOCOM Gear makes the Timberwolf, which is yet another Glock-esque pistol.
Yeah, Timberwolf is basically a heavily modified Glock because most competition Glocks have a lot of random features that basically part of generic Glock culture is shave that back off because this is just a big fat hollow section, so they shave that off. It's a straight grip, extended beaver tail, all of which is basically adding Bondo,
right?
Basically Bondo to it and then shaving it down to whatever size and repainting and redying it.
The other thing that it does is it has more of an elongated slide in the front. It's based off the WeTech. I mean, the WeTech G17 slide will bolt right to it. It works directly on it. Doesn't look very good because it's got some extension points.
It looks a little weird to some people, but if you know what Glocks are, you like Glocks, it's a nice custom Glock, basically, is all it is.
Exactly. And it does work on the standard Wii Glock magazines.
Right.
So when that extended magazine hits, that'll be yet another popular gun to accept.
Yeah, Somcar here just makes branded WE guns.
Exactly. Just like Echo 1, just like every other rebrander in the United States.
Yeah.
But overall, I mean, if you're a Glock fan, there's plenty of guns out there. Now, we want to get these in the range so you can see the differences, how they perform, get our personal feedback on our personal guns.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and get them in the range. We'll get some FPSs, get some rate of fires, and show the people what they can do. feeling. Getting those downrange, I always love shooting these things. They're just a joy and a pleasure.
Shotgun my arm.
Especially that full out, that 23F, that thing shot amazingly for as old as it is.
Yeah, I haven't done much. This is actually the original magazine. I haven't replaced any parts on it whatsoever. Works perfectly fine.
Even though it has that bearing. But...
Well, noise, it just happens. Don't worry about it.
I mean, when the gun's that old, you can't expect him to be...
No, it was like that when I had it originally.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, didn't mean shit.
Now, as we stated in the previous video we did on the WeTech G18, it kicks incredibly beautiful.
Very hard.
I mean, just a wonderful kick, has a great feel to it. It's just a pleasure and a joy to shoot. The WeTech G17, yet again, I can't get enough of it. I love my pistol. It's
very stiff.
Yeah, very stiff feeling. It doesn't shoot hard. I mean, obviously it's under 300, but at the same time, it's just a great performer out of the box every time.
KSC is showing its legendary prowess, however, averaging like 330 and surprisingly upwards of 20 balls a second.
Yeah, that was incredible.
I think that's their improved mechanism. The older one is definitely not that fast. The original videos when Marui came out with their 18 was pretty pathetic compared to Marui's because it was a plastic lighter slide, so it was really fast compared to this. So that shot pretty darn well for... I mean, this is a newer model, obviously. Slightly
yeah, I think it's in the past year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, as far as the feel goes on these things, I do love the feel on this Generation 3 replica by WeTech. The grip is incredibly comfortable. It's got a wonderful rail system on the front to mount any tack lights. I've already removed it just for the video here. Everything about it, I mean, the feel of the kick, the feel of the trigger pull, everything just feels right. Now, on the Generation 4, the 18 variant, the grip is even more comfortable because it's got a kind of a stippling, I guess you'd call it.
Right.
Just
instead of the traditional spiky back they usually do on there.
Yeah, it grips in nice. It's easy to use, easy to function. You don't have to worry, and it kicks like a mule, just like the other one.
Yeah, very sharp, very quick. The other thing is in terms of aesthetics, it does have. I mean, there's rounded off edges on the Glock traditionally, but those are kind of sharp. They don't really round off the edges that much on their Glock as opposed to the KWA and KSCs.
Now, the other thing you're going to see different between this and the KSC is these slides on the WeTechs are a little slider, as in just like the Maruis are. The slides are a little bit wider than on the KSCs.
Somewhat, yeah.
Not a huge difference, but it is going to make for a tighter feel in your holster.
Yeah, especially with the corners coming out kind of a lot sharper. They are noticeably sharper than they are on these on the KSC's Glocks.
Right.
Also, there's a big difference there is the noise that it makes, which
Yeah.
some have noticed.
Now, you have yours with the mag in. We'll throw a mag in this one, just to give you a comparison.
Yeah, that I think it's plastic against the magazine well, but this is the slide is a lot looser on these.
Right. These have a really tight fit. I mean, you do get that clanky sound in there. But that's the clanky sound you want. It's the metal on metal, the slide function.
Oh, they all have that basically. This is definitely a much older design. The magazine is not that tight. It's very smooth, which is nice because it falls out easily, and the slide is not terribly tight. But
now the other thing is teardown on these are relatively the same. I don't know if you want to do yours real quick. You just the standard pull down, slide comes right off.
Yeah, it's pretty basic.
So
you really don't want to do anything more with an 18C because there's a lot of tiny little parts in there.
Yeah, you don't want to mess with it because all you're going to do is end up with a bunch of parts and not be able to make it function. But as with any Glock, it just goes right back on. No muss and fuss with pins. I guess like Glock says, it's just made to perform.
Simply perfection. What are they going on with these now? But
Glock perfection is what it just says. Just Glock perfection.
Whatever.
But, I mean, that's basically it. We just wanted to give a roundup on one of our favorite pistols. I know you're typically a USP man. I'm typically a 1911 user, but these are one pistol, both Cyphre and I can agree
staples of combat in general. They're very well built guns in general, and there are a lot of Glock fans out there.
Oh, absolutely. I can't go a day without hearing an email come through. When are you guys going to do more stuff on Glocks? So, this is why we're doing more stuff on Glocks. Just for the video, I'm Dean Donovan. This is Cyphre. Just showing you why we love our guns. Remember, airsoft's not a crime. Play hard, play safe.
Salute your Tupperware.